A good Tuesday morning from the International Space Station Flight Control Room. This is Mission Control Houston. It's Tuesday, January 22nd, 2013. The crew aboard the station, as known as Expedition 34, is comprised of 6 crew members. Commander Kevin Ford, you see in the seated position on the left, is serving as the overall commander of Expedition 34. On the left side of the view, standing behind him, are Oleg Novitsky and Yevgeny Tarelkin, Russian cosmonauts. They're on their first voyage into space. Kevin Ford on his first long-duration stay in space. He flew on a shuttle flight, a shorter duration mission to the station on STS-128. These 3 crew members have been on board the station now for 90 days. They've been in space for 92 days, arriving at the complex back in late October aboard their Soyuz TMA-06M spacecraft. The newest 3 crew members, pretty much no longer the newest, are comprised of 3 flight engineers standing in the back. The tallest of the 3, Roman Romanenko, the Russian cosmonaut. He served on a long-duration expedition, Expedition 20 and 21. And also joining him, next to him, is Dr. Tom Marshburn. He's on his first long-duration stay in space. He flew a shuttle flight, STS-127, a shorter flight to the station. Also joining them is Canadian Space Agency astronaut, the seated crew member there, Chris Hadfield. He's on his also first long-duration stay in space, but he's flown 2 previous shuttle flights, one of those to the International Space Station as well. The crew members spent a fairly busy weekend. They had a number of human research experiments that they performed over the weekend. They also had some off-duty time to talk with their family members through private family conferences from the station. That's a routine for the crew members periodically to stay in touch with their families here on the ground. The crews also performed some routine housekeeping chores as usual aboard the station to ensure that all the systems are working properly. They did some experiment checks as well to ensure that some of the ongoing autonomous experiments are continuing to perform as expected. Today, the crew members are focusing their attention on the experiments. Once again, the crew is focusing on an experiment that basically checks the patient's eyesight. It's called a panoptic experiment. It's developed by Dr. Paul Filar, who operates out of Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. He came up with a device to be able to send images remotely over long distances. And this is essentially a way that the crew will take some periodic, essentially an on-orbit eye exam, and we'll be using those images and transmit those to the ground to prove the concept of if there is any eye problems that can be looked at distance-wise by an ophthalmologist here on the ground. Also underway, the capillary flow experiment operations by Kevin Ford. It's a suite of fluid physics experiments that investigates how fluids move up surfaces in the microgravity environment of space as well. In and around all of that, the crew again visited with flight controllers on the ground as well to look over their schedules and also look ahead to what's in store for the next day. They do that periodically. They also perform exercise twice a day, budgeted for 2 hours of exercise in the morning and evening to maintain their cardiovascular and musculoskeletal systems while living in the microgravity environment of space. So that's life aboard the International Space Station over the weekend and today for the Expedition 34 crew aboard the International Space Station.